Okay, for today's lesson, you're going to need this sheet right here. Starts off with number 7 up at the top. And it says, name the relationship between angle 1 and angle 2. And then decide whether they are congruent or supplementary. Okay, so on number 7, we see right here, here's angle 1 and angle 2. And if we notice that we have two parallel lines cut by a transversal, and these angles are on the same side of the transversal, and they're opposite of each other, that is what we call corresponding. So they're corresponding angles. And corresponding angles, you think, well, are they supplementary? If I piece these two together, would it equal 180 degrees? If I took this piece, slid it up here, would it form a straight line? In this case, no. So they are congruent, and congruent means the exact same measure. We know they're the exact same measure because they are parallel, cut by a transversal, and corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, number 8. Angle 1, angle 2. If you look at these two here, it asks what is the relationship for these. So these are what we call same side, because this transversal right here, and these are on the same side of the transversal, but we also say interior. Same side interior. And we say interior because they are inside of the parallel line. So here's angle 1, angle 2, inside there. Okay, and if I take these two pieces here, and if I add them together, if you can imagine that this piece right here would slide right here, it would match up perfectly with angle 1 and come together and form a straight line. So because of that, that's supplementary, because those two will add up to equal 180 degrees. Okay, number 9, angle 1, angle 2, and this one, if we look at, they're on opposite sides of this transversal. So here's my transversal. They're on opposite sides, so we call this alternate, because of they're on the opposite sides, they're alternating on the sides. And we are also going to say exterior. They're alternate exterior angles because, again, they are on opposite sides and they are on the exterior of the two parallel lines. So here's your parallel line, it's on the outside. Here's your parallel line on the outside. Okay, alternate exterior. If you imagine trying to fit these two together, they're not going to go together to form a straight line. So these are actually congruent. They're the exact same measure if you look at them. Okay, so now we go on to number 10. We've done ones like this before. So number 10, we have y and x. So angle y and x. How do they relate to each other? Well, we know angle y and angle x are directly opposite of each other. And angles that are directly opposite of each other are called vertical angles. Okay, and vertical angles, we know are going to be the exact same measure. Okay, they're congruent. Okay, number 11. So number 11, here's angle x and angle y. Okay, here's my two lines that are parallel, cut by this transversal right here. So if you look at angle x and angle y, you see the transversal. They're not on the same side of that transversal. So if they're on opposite sides, that's what we call alternate. And then look at the angles. They're actually on the insides of those parallel lines. So we call them alternate interior angles. Okay, and the alternate interior angles are also formed by that like Z shape. Sometimes it can be a Z going like normal, or there can be a backward Z. So this Z, and you got the insides here, it's the same measure. So that's what we call congruent. Okay, you go ahead and answer number 12. Okay, moving on to number 13. Name the relationship between two angles and decide whether the angles are congruent or supplementary, and then set up an equation to solve for x. So I want to see this angle right here and this angle right here, which honestly is the same setup as this one right here. So because of that, we know it's alternate interior. I just had a bag fall behind me. Okay, alternate interior angles we know are equal to each other. Now, if they're equal to each other, that means I can set them equal to each other. Okay, so I can take this first angle, 8x minus 4, and I can say that's equal to the second one, which they say is 60 degrees. And there's my equation. It's a real basic equation we can solve now. So plus 4 cancels. You get 8x equals 64. And then we can divide both sides by 8. So x is equal to 8. That's what they wanted you to solve for. And if I plug this back into that equation, 8 times 8 is 64. Take away 4. That does equal 60. So we know we did our work correctly. Okay, let's go on to number 11. So number 11, we look at these two angles. I got this one here. I got this one up here. And I'm kind of thinking back to what one matched up here. And it matches up with number 8 all the way up at the top. So if you look at that one, they're on the same side of the transversal, and they're also on the interior. So we say same side interior. And we know that same side interior, they were supplementary, which means this angle plus this angle has to add up to 180 degrees. So I'm going to take this top angle. I'm going to write that down. 2x plus 43. And I'm going to add it with the bottom angle, 2x minus 3. And I know that these two should add up to 180 degrees. So that's the equation I want to write. Okay, so I combine like terms, 2x plus 2x, that's my 4x, plus 43 minus 3, that's plus 40, equals 180. So then I'm going to subtract 40, cancels. We get 4x is equal to 140. And then we're going to divide by 4. So 140 divided by 4. And notice we get an answer of 35. So x is equal to 35. Okay, number 12. If you're looking at number 12 here, we see that we got this angle and this angle. And if we go back and kind of think what was matching up top there, that looks like number 7. So it's just on a different side. But those are what we call corresponding angles. So number 12 is corresponding. And we already talked about before, corresponding is congruent, which means they're equal to each other. So if they're equal to each other, then I just set these two numbers equal to each other. So I'm going to come down, take this first one, 75, equals the second one, 11x minus 2. Okay, then we solve for x. So I add 2 to both sides, cancels. I get 77 equals 11x. Divide both sides by 11. And we get 7 is equal to x, or x is equal to 7. Okay, number 11. So if I look at this one, and I look at this one, I see that it forms this Z shape. Okay, and my two angles are on the opposite sides of my transversal, so that tells me it's an alternate. And if I look at the angles, they're on the inside of the parallel lines. So alternate interior are what those angles are. We learned up top before that alternate interior is congruent. They equal each other. So my equation right here that I would write down is x plus 139 for this one equals 132. Okay, so then if I solve, I just subtract 139, subtract 139, cancels, and then we get x is equal to -7. So x equals -7 is what I'd write in that line there. Okay, number 12. Look at these two angles. We notice they're directly across from each other, which we already talked about up top there. Those are called vertical angles. Vertical angles are directly opposite from each other. And I know that vertical angles are equal to each other, so they're congruent. So that means I can set them equal to each other. So I take the top one, 2x plus 60, equals the bottom one, 4x. And if I want to solve for x, I'm just going to subtract 2x right here. So that cancels. I'll come down below, give myself a little bit of room. 60 equals 2x. At that point, I would divide everything by 2. So that cancels. And then we get x is equal to 60 over 2, which is 30. Okay, you guys go and do number 13. And that's it.